right, hello students. This is Mr. C of Mr. C's Homeschool Music Academy, and welcome to your very next music theory lesson. This is music theory lesson number, I believe, number 6, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, if I'm wrong, please correct me on that. Okay, but your next music theory lesson is going. This is the important part, and this is definitely what you guys are going to need to know. Is that now we're getting into the series of actually learning how to read notes on a treble clef staff. If you remember from your previous classes, okay, I showed you how to write an actual treble clef and also how to write a bass clef, okay? And that we'll be coming into, okay? But there are differences between reading a treble clef staff and reading a bass clef staff, okay? And I'm going to show you that. The other thing that you need to know is that in case this is your first time reading music at all, okay, is that every line and space on the staff is a letter name. All right, okay. I want you to remember that. Okay, every line and space again is a letter name. All right. So the idea is that every note, okay, going by pitch, and having this understanding too, is that when we're going from the lowest note on the staff and we're going up, okay, as we go up in the staff, whether we're on a line or whether we're on a space, okay, that meaning that there's a note or a note head between the two lines. That would make it a space note, as opposed to a line. That means that note head on a particular note will be on a line. The line will go right through it, okay? So that's the idea. But again, every line and space is a letter name, and as you go from the lowest to the highest, it actually goes up in pitch. So basically it goes from sounding low as we go up in the staff, it actually starts to sound higher every time, okay? That's the idea. All right, so let me just reiterate again about the note. I was using some terminology before. If you had done your classes from before, guys, okay, there are notes, okay, note heads, okay. So for instance, let's say I write a quarter note right over here, okay, and I do a quarter note right there. You see the filled in note head right over there. Notice that the line itself is going right through the note head. Is going right through. Okay, that would make this a line note. All right, but if I was to do a space note, that means that the note head itself of another quarter note. Okay, I'm writing a quarter note here. Okay, notice that the note head is actually in between the two lines, and that would make it a space note. Okay, so again, a line note has a line running right through the note head, as opposed to the space note is right in between the two lines. Okay, that's how we can distinguish the two. Okay, and so just like I said, in the staff, okay, or more particularly the treble clef staff, okay, we are again identifying lines and spaces in a treble clef. Okay, there's a series of ways that we can learn how to read those particular notes and identify each note, okay, using letter names, okay, but it has to go by a particular word association kind of game type of thing, okay. And I'm going to show you what that is. So taking a look at our lines, okay, notice I do have a set of words. Please understand, again, the note head has to be on the line, or the line has to run through it, okay. So we're really looking at the first letters of each of these words, okay. So the letters are E, G, B, D, and F. Okay? Those are the letter names to the lines. But the question is, how do we remember that? How do we get into remembering this? Okay? So we basically, every letter stands for a particular word as it is written over here. Okay, and what you want to do, by the way, guys, make sure you have your materials, you have your pencils, you have your staff paper, okay, and you're actually writing this down, okay, as we're doing this. Okay, so if you take a look over here, okay, you have your E stands for the word every, okay, your G stands for the word good, okay, and we're going up in the staff, right, which means, you know, again, if we were playing these notes, we would be going up in pitch. So again, G stands for good, Your B stands for boy. We're on the third line right now. We're going up to the fourth line. Your D stands for does, and your F stands for fine at the very top line. That is your F. Okay? So we basically, what we do is, guys, we recite this. This is basically a phrase, a sentence, if you will. Every good boy does fine. Okay? If we recite that particular sentence, we recite those words over and over again in repetition, we're going to be able to remember that that the lines, the letter names are E, G, B, D, F. Okay, just by simply saying every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F. Okay, does everybody get that so far? Now, best way to remember that, guys, okay, is to simply recite them. Okay, go on a regimen of reciting it about 10 times a day. Okay, just 10 times a day. All right, if you do that 10 times a day, okay, and then try to cover it up. Okay, you take your manuscript paper that, of course, you have written this, right? You recite it by looking at it. Then you turn it over, you cover it up, okay, and then you try to say it. You try to recite it without looking. Okay, it's just like studying for a spelling test. Okay, you have 10 words or even 20 words. Okay, if you remember in school, you learn how to spell these words by reciting them in repetition of about 10 or 20 times a day, right? Then you cover it up. Then you try to recite it without looking. If you remember it, of course, then guess what? If you were able to, I should say, if you're able to recite it without looking, then you obviously remembered it. Okay. But if you were not able to recite, you miss a word here. Okay. If you weren't able to spell a particular word on your spelling word list, then guess what? Then you would do it like another reciting of 10 times, looking at it, spelling it, going through each and every word, and then covering it up and testing your memory. Okay. So the same thing here. That's what you want to do over here. You want to say it about 10 times a day. Every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F. Okay. You say that about 10 times. Okay. Cover it up. Test your memory. See if you remember it. If you remember it, guess what? You got it memorized. If you don't, do it another 10 times. Same idea. Okay. All right. So that's for the lines. Now for the spaces. Take a look over here, guys. For the spaces, notice there are no word associations with each letter name. All you have is F in the first space and the bottom space. You have the A in the second space. You have the C in the third space. And you have the E in the last space on the top space. Okay? But the great thing about this is it's the easiest, because all you have to realize is that these letters, they spell out a word. They spell out the word face. Okay? So all you have to do is think of the word face. Okay? Think of the word face and then say F-A-C-E. Okay? You could do that about 10 times. And by the way, again, this is the easiest to remember. You will be able to remember this much, much easier. Okay? So this is how we identify the letter names. Okay? Now, to really test your understanding of this, okay, notice that I remember I did show you guys that the differences between a line note and a space note. Okay? Notice that we have to, first things first, we have to identify that the note itself is a line note or is it a space note. We question it. Is it a line note or is it a space note? If it's a line note, again, the line is running right through that note head. If it's a space note, then it's in between, the note head is in between the two lines, okay? And it doesn't matter where the stems are, okay? If you guys recall from our previous notation classes, okay? It doesn't matter where the stem is. The stem only tells us the value of the note, okay? As per our rhythm classes that we've done, okay? A quarter note, okay, especially in the 4/4 meter, is usually worth 1 beat, right? Okay? Or if it's just a plain circle, then of course it's just a whole note, which is usually worth 4 beats, okay? If it's a dotted half note, it's a half note, an empty circle note head with a stem, but a dot next to it, in which case that would be worth 3 beats, okay? So again, if you guys are not entirely sure what I'm talking about, please go back to the rhythm classes that have been uploaded onto the platform so that you can review those note values. But again, those note values have nothing to do necessarily with the letter names, of reading the letter names of the notes. Reading the letter names of the notes simply has to do with this. Okay, if it's a line note, then we're going to go with this lines formula. I like to refer to them as formulas, okay? You got the lines formula, which tells us every good boy does fine, E, G, B, D, F, okay? Then if it's a space note, we have to question it. Oh, does the note head go in between the two lines? If it does, then we're going to use the spaces formula, which is the word face, F-A-C-E. Okay? That's how we identify that, okay? So let's do a couple. Let's do a couple, okay? Watch this. I'm going to erase this. All right. We're going to do a couple of examples over here. I'm going to draw up another treble clef staff, okay? So that this way we can just identify the notes using those formulas that are right here, right in front of us, okay? And again, okay, and while we're doing this, guys, you should be writing this down, okay? So here we go. Okay, just drawing, doing a quick treble clef staff. Mind the, don't mind the sloppiness of it, guys, okay? Oh, by the way, just so that you know, from our rhythm classes, make sure you guys remember that our double bar line, okay, you have your bar lines, and your double bar line means that we're at the end of a particular song or example, all right? Okay, so I'm going to use, just as an example, guys, I'm going to use whole notes, okay? We're going to use whole notes, okay? Again, when it comes to identifying the letter names, it doesn't matter what value note it is, okay? That has no bearing whatsoever. The only thing that matters is whether we understand that whether it's a line note or is a space note, okay? Whatever it is, whatever kind of note it is, whether it's on a line or a space, then we use the appropriate formula that goes along with that, okay? So for example, here we go. We're going to start with this first whole note. Take a look, everybody. That first whole note, okay? We have to ask ourselves, okay, we're in the treble clef staff, okay? Is it a line note or is it a space note, okay? Where does that whole note lie, okay? So we know that, again, a line note, the line has to be running through that whole note, but we see that it's not, which means it's in between. You see how it's in between the two lines? That means it's in the, counting from the bottom, first, second, third space going up in the staff. Okay, so it's a space note. So obviously we're going to use the face formula. Okay, so all we have to do right here is we have to start from the bottom space. Okay, spell out the word face. Just spell out the word face from the bottom space up until where the note is. So if you do it with me, everybody, let's spell the word face, pointing at the bottom space first. We go F-A-C. Okay, we know E is over here, but we don't need to go any further than that. F-A-C. That means that the letter name note right there is a C. Okay, guys? I'm going to write it right next to it. Actually, I'm going to, just so that we're not confused, because I'm sort of looking at it, and like, hey, that looks kind of weird. I'm going to put it right on top over here, okay? That is our letter C. Please don't mind the sloppiness right over there, okay? But that's the idea. We go F-A-C, it's a space note, and we stop right where the note is. That tells us that we're in high C in the third space going up, all right? Next note, watch this. Okay, now look at that next whole note, okay, in this next measure, okay? Remember again, let me remind you guys, measures are separated by bar lines that create a box, okay, that holds notes, contains notes in that particular box there, okay? But in the second measure, okay, this is the first measure, this is the second measure, okay? Note where the whole note is, okay? Where is that? Is that a line note or is it a space note? Okay, again, in order for it to be a space note, it's got to be in between the two lines, just like our first measure. But the next note in the next measure has the second line, 1, 2, second line from the bottom, okay, has the second line running right through it, okay? Therefore, everybody, that is not a space note, that is definitely a line note, in which case we're going to be using our every good boy does fine formula, okay? So, how we do this? We start from the bottom line. Because why? Our formula starts from the very bottom line, as you can see. It starts from the bottom line, and we recite it and we go up in the staff. Every good boy does fine. We go up like a staircase almost, okay? So we start over here on this first bottom line. We go with the word every good. Oh, do we need to go any further? Absolutely not, because it stops at the word good. Every good. Good is what? The letter G. Therefore, we're going to identify that as the G note. Okay? Every good, that is our G note right there. Okay? And let's do our last one right over here. Our last one. Let's do this note right here. Okay, there's our whole note. Okay, in the last measure. Okay? Now, the question is it a line note or is it a space note? I think you know what I'm going to say, right? The top line runs right through that last whole note and runs right through it. Therefore, it must be a line note. And so we need to recite our lines formula. Every good boy does fine. So we start again from the bottom line, recite it all the way up till we get to the last line, up to where the note happens to be, which is at the very top line. So everybody do it with me. Point to each line, going every good boy does fine. That must be an F. So we're going to label it as an F. Okay. Interestingly enough, okay, if we just look up to our other treble clef staff, okay. Actually, what's funny about this is I didn't do this on purpose, but it definitely works. Okay. This is our high F. Okay. How do we know it's a high F? Again, remember what I said. The higher you go up on the staff, the higher the pitch. The higher the pitch is going to sound when you play it on the piano or when you sing it. Okay, when you play it on an instrument or when you sing it. But it's at the high F, okay? And notice that the other treble clef staff over here where I have the spaces formula, I had the quarter note where the note head is in between the two lines, okay? That is also an F. Except it's the low F, okay? It's at the low F because it's at the bottom space of the treble clef staff, okay? So this is the high F, this is the low F, okay? And in which case I just named the F right over here for both notes, okay? Anyway, that's my little quirky interest in there, okay? Funny thing about this is, I used to laugh about this when my teachers taught me, when my teachers would teach me how to read the letter name notes, okay? What I came to find was that these formulas were extremely helpful, okay? And why? Because you could basically recite that word play right over there, or just spell the word face, okay, and get to the note quickly. That's the other thing about doing it this way. See, if we had to do it by, say, alphabetical order, okay, in a way, alphabetical order, leaving out the A, okay, let's look at our E, right? This bottom line is our E for every, as you well know, right? You got E, but then if you just go up a quick step into the space, what do you have? F. Then you have G, right? Then it starts all over at A, because if you guys, let me say this, okay? I don't think I've ever really mentioned this before, but I'm gonna mention it again. Our musical alphabet only goes from A through G, okay? Everybody take a look. It only goes from A through G. I want you to remember that. That's a hint, wink, wink moment right there. Remember that your musical alphabet only goes from A through G, okay? Which means that if you were reciting the alphabet, the musical alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, as you're going from the lowest to the highest, it just starts all over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay? Which is why we have like multiples, okay? You have your low F over here, and then you have your high F over here on the line. Low F on the space, high F right there, okay? And you have a lot of different low and high versions of each note, okay? But it only goes, again, from A through G, which means there's no such thing as you'll never find an H note, an I note, Okay, never a Z note. Okay, you're only gonna have notes from A through G. Okay, that go from lowest to highest, and it just starts all over again. Okay, okay, but in any event, um, again, this, these word helps, these formulas help us to get to the notes much faster and read it fast. So again, if we were to go by alphabetical order, we have E, then you have the F, then you have the G, then it starts all over, like I said, back to A, B, C, D, E, and F. If we had to do it, if we had to look at these notes by themselves, without these formulas, if we had to look at these notes by themselves and try to read it by going E, F, G, A, B, C, okay, all right. Well, we might be able to do that, but it would take way too long. It would take way too long to identify every note. Whereas with this, all we have to do is F, A, C. Oh, that's a C. All we have to do is every good. Oh, that's a G. Okay, we didn't have to go E, F, G. Okay, even though that doesn't take that much time, but still, we have, there are so many notes on the treble clef staff. There are so many that it would take just too long to have to go sequentially in alphabetical order just to get to it. It's always much better and much faster to use these formulas. Okay, so my friends, there will be a worksheet. Make sure that you go okay, onto the platform. Make sure you upload your worksheet, and you work on it. Okay, you will have more examples just like this to identify the letter names in your lines and spaces in the treble clef staff. Okay, which, by the way, it is definitely a different format when it comes to the bass clef. Okay, so you're gonna find it different format, different formulas. Okay, and that'll be in the next class. Okay, but make sure, okay, first and foremost, you memorize your lines formula. Every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F, and your spaces formula. Face, F, A, C, E. Okay, going from the bottom space or from the bottom line and working your way up in the staff. Okay. And therefore, there it is, my friends. That is the end of our class. Okay. As always, I wish you happy practicing. Remember, do the worksheet, and I'll see you in the next class. Take care. Bye.